So I've hired a lot of people, like a lot. I'm talking hundreds. With that volume of people, there's going to be voluntary churn. There's also going to be involuntary churn. That means firing people. I've been sued for wrong dismissal. I've been in more than one termination. I had the people basically either freak out and shout, or at the end of the spectrum, actually start crying, which is a total bummer. Now, none of this is fun, and if you've been in the game before, you can probably relate, right? But you know what? I was fundamentally firing people wrong. But how I was firing people in meetings was not wrong. I was respectful. I let people talk. I was prepared. I did meets when no one was about, so it wouldn't be awkward. So what was I doing wrong? I did one thing different and changed the lawsuits, shouting, crying to Alex, thanks for giving me a shot. Now I'm going to explain this one key learning to you. Now if you want to know what it is, stick with me right now.
Ask Alex. Ask Alex. Because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to Crazy Land. We were in super aggressive hire mode. I was flying around, launching new cities, and attracting salespeople by hook or crook. I needed people to hit targets, and frankly, I had the budget. But I needed the right people. I need performers. I needed closers. And when I started, I didn't think. As my saying went, don't think, just do. I just hired people that performed interviews. I did proper onboardings, one-to-one. I would pair them with another salesperson to share those learnings. And FYI, I learned it was way more efficient to do hiring in groups with a minimum of 2, as they always had the same questions, and some were more forward at asking questions. It also frees up way more time, as personally, you can compare each person's performance and get another one, which gives a more informative sample. Now, this is a great learning if you are more normal, meaning you can only hire a few people. Don't hire one person, right? Hire at least 2, for salespeople anyway, okay? Now, I did a lot of right things to get salespeople prepped and ready to start selling, but I didn't set them up for failure. And not in the way that you think. So, Crazy Land, things are now getting dark. Now, I hate firing people. Don't tell anyone, but sometimes I used to cry in the toilet when I was sure no one was listening, just before I had to go and do the dirty deed. You know, especially for people I actually liked, you know. I'd pull people from a steady job into my crazy world, and now I was shit canning them, like already. Now, I'm not even talking like after 3 months. I'm talking 4 weeks. In fact, my performance test shortened to 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks. Like, no shit, I would literally fire people after 2 weeks, and do you know what? Sometimes even after a week. They had a week to close a deal and 2 weeks to close 5 deals in a week. I figured out that people either performed or they didn't. Time didn't have a high R squared to performance, which is brutal, I know, but that was a fact. So do you think people are happy? Yeah, no, they weren't. I got sued once. Admittedly, the guy was desperate. People cried, people shouted, they pleaded, and I felt like shit. Then something changed. I had this epiphany. It wasn't just that I was firing people, which is obviously clearly not sunshine and rainbows, that was the issue. I realized I hadn't properly set expectations for success and failure clearly. I hadn't set out clearly agreed goals. They weren't purely about performance and not soft things. They weren't personal, so they could save face. I didn't have clear timelines to deliver. In short, for performance-oriented people that make money by selling stuff, I wasn't quantitative and definite. Now, before hiring people, I'd said something like this. Look, I've been doing this for a while. It's not for everyone. You may be a high performer for other products, but here, salespeople are either great or they fail. It's nothing to do with you as a person. It just works or it doesn't. For you to hit your OTE, which is your on-target earnings, you want to be a performer. Why do you want to be here if you're not making a lot of cash? And yeah, our folks who are performing are making out like bandits. We figured out that people either do great or not at all. So here's the deal. You have 1 week to get a deal. In your second week, you need to do 5 deals. If you don't, then it's not going to work. Your main goal is 5 deals a week on a rolling basis anyway. Is that clear? Okay, that's not exactly what I said. I kind of made that up just now, but it's probably what I said. But you know what? I never once had someone not take the offer. And let's be real, no salesperson thinks that they won't make the cut. So what happened after I made this change? Okay, so salespeople, they don't make the cut quite often. And yes, I had to fire a lot of people, but it was better. I remember the first time I implemented this, it was a chap in Melbourne, I think, and I'm clearly not going to remember his name, just to be honest. The prep spiel above was actually pretty spontaneous. I just said it as I was tired of hiring, training, and firing people, just generally feeling crap. It just turned out to work. So I hired him on trial with a girl, and it was, remember the pairs thing. And it was also the first time I started training multiple people at once, since I'd only gotten to this point where I had enough candidates. By managing to find the right headhunters who would send me the right candidates. Okay, so he was like a pretty decent chap, nothing spectacular. He asked a lot of questions, and I kind of liked him. I went on sales calls with him, because frankly, how else do you get respect from salespeople? And, he leveraged his relationships to get meetings, especially the first one. But you know what? No deals. They just didn't close. His 1 week milestone hit. I scheduled a meeting with him after work hours on Monday. After I'd dried my eyes like a soft little bitch, I walked into the meeting room, folder in hand, which was the termination letter, and it went something like this. So, how do you think the week went? Him. I had a fun time, but it was a little harder than I thought it would be. I said, yeah, it really isn't. And he said, well, look, I know. I just want to say thanks for the support and, well, giving me a shot. And that was sort of the end of it. We shook hands and did this BS small talk thing, never to see each other again. And, well, I felt good. Well, at least better. So why was this so different? Well, there was no need to explain, anything. It wasn't personal. It wasn't like Mary at HR doesn't like you or some sort of political bullshit, right? We agreed on clear targets and why they needed to be hit. He didn't want to work for me if he wasn't going to make money either. There were no grand promises and prospects. Everything was clear cut. But what about for non-salespeople, you may be asking? Well, good point. For most jobs, it isn't so clear at all. And I'll tell you what I do. I set out exactly what I want people to do for me on a small scale, despite the potential scope of the role. I make sure once they start, I support them, but also that they immediately start delivering on their core job. And I hire people who can think for themselves, even with VAs, virtual assistants. To do that, you have to make clear that failing is cool, so long as they ask for feedback proactively. Failing has to almost be encouraged. So when they fail, you need to allocate time to teaching, what went wrong, and also with zero spite, okay? So you can't judge them. And when you do that, and people feel comfortable, they feel comfortable having a good go at it. Now, I think a month is a fine test period for pretty much anyone. If they can't execute on their core job for defined tasks, you're just onto a loser. So take the advice and fire fast. If they execute immediately above expectations, give them more. Make the test period, say 3 months. Set expectations for people as follows. You have 1 month to demonstrate you can execute on your core capabilities and can add value to the team. We expect you to ship a quality SQL-based dashboard as we need to get better at our reporting. If this isn't done, we aren't going to be a great fit as we need people to operate independently. You then have 2 further months to demonstrate you can expand your role, the full expectations of the role in business intel, and have the potential to grow and advance in our company. I need you to identify at least 3 optimizations and figure out how to increase our conversion rates on page by 3%. Is that clear? Okay, cool. Now, to conclude, guys, by being really clear with your staff on your expectations, you're not only doing yourself a favor, you're also ensuring the hire finds the right home for themselves and doesn't waste their time either. They don't really need to put their 1-2 month stint on their CV either, right? Now, think about setting clear goals when hiring people. So firing becomes a formality. The hirer knows what's happening without a surprise. Now, go implement that in your company. If it was useful, please share, like, do all that crazy stuff. If you need help scaling company, doing fundraising, all those amazing things, feel free to reach out to me on blog, alexanderjarvis.com, and I'm happy to work with your company and do some consulting. All right, bye guys.